This is Cashing Out on VSiN, the sports betting network.
All right, welcome in. It's a new hour. Cashing Out with Joe Ceraulo, taking you into your Thursday morning for our friends over on the East Coast, through the late hours of your night on the West Coast. And what a Wednesday night it was. Free hockey down the road at T-Mobile Arena. The Edmonton Oilers punched their ticket to their second consecutive Western Conference Finals. It was Kapanen, the OT, poking, loose puck in front of the net. He was 220-1 to get that overtime game winner that solidified Edmonton's 1-0 win and their spot likely opposite the Dallas Stars in the Western Conference Finals. Stars-Jets coming up Thursday. Great White North, Winnipeg, a whiteout. I love that home environment up in Winnipeg. And the Jets are about minus 115, minus $1.20 favorites. Dallas coming in near even money on the road. Winnipeg's 5-1 at home this postseason. Won all four against St. Louis, split with Dallas. Look, I was rooting for this Winnipeg team. I would love to see Connor Hellebuyck shake off those demons, exercise them, and take this Jets team, this President Trophy winning Jets team, on a run. But they just look overmatched. He looks overmatched every time he takes the ice on the road. He's a different goalie, Jekyll and Hyde, whether he's at home or on the road. And at this point, down 3-1, I struggle to see Winnipeg having any sort of success in this game. I just think that in terms of his psyche, being down 3-1, even though that they have been better at home, I think it's too much. I lean Dallas, especially at the better price in this contest. I don't know if I can get there in terms of playing it. I'll tell you, though, there is an underdog I like, and Dallas is an ever so slight underdog. I like the Capitals, Game 5. Home ice has been huge for the most part this Stanley Cup playoffs, right? It really wasn't the last two postseasons, but so far this Stanley Cup playoffs, home ice has been massive. And I struggle to see Washington, the number one overall seed in the Eastern Conference, going down on their home ice. You can get them plus $1.50. Ovechkin was on a 4-game scoreless streak. We hit Monday. We call it the rest stop prop, right? I was driving from LA to Vegas, stopped over to take a leak, put in a bet, Ovi plus $1.80 to score, profit X in California. Boom, winner. I think Ovi scores again. Most of the books have that hovering, same price as the money line, about plus $1.50. But if you parlay those together, you get a hell of a price. Not saying I'm going to do that, but it would be a great price. I think Washington is going to go out with a bang. Do I think they're going to go out this round? I do. I think it's Carolina, Florida in the Eastern Conference Finals. But I think the Capitals are going to live to see another day. If you put both home teams in front of me that are trying to fight off elimination, Game 5, Washington, Winnipeg, both 1 seeds, by the way, in their respective conferences, I say, despite the fact that they're a bigger home dog, Winnipeg's a favorite, I think the Capitals actually have a better chance at winning than the Winnipeg Jets. The Denver Nuggets looking to fight off elimination on their home court Thursday night. Standalone spot in the NBA. Indiana, Minnesota have punched their tickets to their respective conference finals. The Celtics live to see another day. Will the Nuggets live to see another day past Thursday? They're catching 5 at Ball Arena. I almost called it the Pepsi Center. I think that was the name of what it used to be called. Denver plus 5 at home. They were up 9 in Game 5 in OKC with 10 minutes to go. The Thunder, as they've done so often this postseason, finished strong, right? Remember the Memphis game? They were down damn near 30. Morant gets hurt. They come back and win. Mother's Day, they're down in the fourth quarter, double digits. They come back and win. Well, they were down 90-81, and they ended the game on a 31-15 run to put the Nuggets on the brink of elimination. And I'll tell you what, I'm going to stand by what I said after that Mother's Day game. After the Thunder came back and won a game where they certainly looked anything but impressive Sunday afternoon in that matinee. It felt like a matinee. It was a slow-moving contest, 17-8 after the first quarter, right? You hold the Nuggets to 8 points in the first quarter, you should have your foot on their throats after 12 minutes. You should have a 20-point lead, not a single-digit lead against a team that only scores 8 in the opening 12 minutes. After that, I said I think the home team wins each game the rest of the way. And I'll tell you what, I don't think I have the courage to pull the trigger on Denver money line plus $1.65 like I did with the Knicks game 5 plus $1.65. By the way, that was our only loser Wednesday. How about that? 3-1 Wednesday, 12-3 the last 3 days. Keep the wins coming. I don't have the courage to pull the trigger on Denver plus $1.65 here, but I am leaning heavily towards firing on the Nuggets catching those 5 points. I think either way, even if the Thunder do pull it out, I think Denver, and specifically, because let's call it what it is, right? There are teams and then there are superstars. The Nuggets are only here because of one man. Sorry, Jamal Murray. It's Nikola Jokic. And I think Jokic will single-handedly will this team into being in this game until that final buzzer sounds. Whether or not they're on the right side when it does is a different story, but I think Denver will hang around for 48 minutes because of Nikola Jokic. It's the likely MVP, SGA, going up against, let's call it what he is, the best player in the world this series. SGA is probably going to be your MVP, and I have no argument against that. But Nikola Jokic, and he's shown us this series head-to-head, he is the best player in the world. The 3-time MVP arguably just turned in his best statistical season yet. He does not have a supporting cast. OKC is the best supporting cast in the NBA, right? Indiana showing people they're not far off, by the way. Nikola Jokic does not have a supporting cast. Jamal Murray is good for a big night here and there. Aaron Gordon, occasionally. Michael Porter, occasionally. He does not consistently get these terrific group performances that SGA gets around him with Jalen Williams, right? Game 5, Lou Dort, some of the biggest 3 balls of his career going down in the fourth quarter. Holmgren and Hartenstein down low. A great bench with the other Jalen Williams and Alex Caruso. And this Thunder backcourt is just as deep and as athletic and as good of a two-way backcourt as exists in the National Basketball Association. At the end of the day, they are just going to be too much for Denver. Now, I don't know if they'll be too much for them in Game 6 or if they will inevitably be too much for them in Game 7. But whatever success, however far the Nuggets take them this series, make no mistake about it, it will single-handedly be on the back of Nikola Jokic. Let's pull up some Jokic props for this game because normally I like to stay away from the superstars, right? That Knicks Celtics game, we found a spot to target, and we targeted Kristaps Porzingis under 15.5 points. I want to shout out our sensational producer, Jared Moore, because he and I were on that together, and KP had 1 point in 12 minutes. He was KO'd early, didn't play the entire second half. So that was a great spot to find a guy who had gone under that mark in 7 of 9 prior to Game 5 this postseason, now make it 8 of 10. The superstars, you just typically pay too much of a premium in the prop market. But if there's a guy who will go over even the inflated superstar numbers that get posted, it's Nikola Jokic. So let's see what the numbers are, shall we? Points scored, 28.5. Only gone over this twice this series, but both times he's gone over it, 40 pieces. 42 Game 1, 44 Game 5, both in OKC, ironically enough. So he's only gone over his points prop 2 out of 5 this series. Points and rebounds, 42.5. He's gone over that 2 out of 5. Had 64 Game 1, 59 Game 5. I'm inclined to stay away from assists. The number is 7.5, which is low for Jokic, but he has stayed under that number this entire series. And because of that, I mean, what are we getting, a triple-double price? I'm not seeing one yet. I'll have to dig a little deeper, on a triple-double price. The rebound number is insane. 14.5 we're looking at. You can get about even money to the over. He's gone over it 3 times this series. I'll tell you what. He's yet to go over this number at home. In his last 4 home games this postseason, Jokic has stayed under the points prop. I think he goes over 28.5. Facing elimination, I think Nikola Jokic is going to drop 30 for the Nuggets. And that will probably be my best bet in this game. Because anything I bet on the Nuggets, like we say, you're betting on Jokic. It's a single-hand Superman effort. And does he look tired? He absolutely does. He's exhausted. But I don't think he is going to allow his team to be eliminated on their home court. Give me Nikola Jokic over 28.5 points. Game 6 in Denver, Thursday night. Folks, Edge Boost is the first ever bank account built for bettors, ensuring that all gambling transactions are approved. That means no usage fees, no minimums. Means you can earn cash back rewards and get 100% approval for all betting deposits. So sign up today at edgeboost.bet. Use the promo code CASH, and if you deposit $25, EdgeBoost will match your deposit. That's edgeboost.bet. We are just a few short hours away from the PGA Championship teeing off. Who better to break it down with than VSiN's own senior handicapper, Wes Reynolds. Wes's winners up next. I can't wait. It's Cashing Out with Joe Ceraulo.
If your job at a healthcare facility includes disinfecting against viruses, prevention is the best medicine. And maintaining healthy spaces starts with a healthy cleaning routine. Grainger's world-class supply chain helps ensure you have the quality products you need when you need them. From disinfectants and cleaning supplies to personal protective equipment, so you can help deliver a clean bill of health. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Out here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Cashing Out continues with myself, Joe Ceraulo, taking you through the late hours of your Wednesday night, right on in to your Thursday morning for our friends over on the East Coast. And Thursday morning, we tee off the PGA Championship, about to get underway. Who better to break it all down with, joining us on the Progressive Guest Line, and VSiN senior handicapper, catch him, host of the Long Shots pod on VSiN, Wes Reynolds, joining the program now. Wes, how are you, my friend? How excited are you for this major?
Yeah, ready to go, Joe. Here in Charlotte, North Carolina at Quail Hollow tomorrow. Probably the best field of the year because we have 99 of the top 100 ranked players in the world. And it's still the strongest field of the year, even though you have 20 club pros. That's what makes the PGA Championship unique. You get 20 of these teaching pros that qualify for this. Remember, Michael Block was in one of the final few pairings a few years ago at Oak Hill, and he's back again. But club pros don't win this in this era. This is about the big boys, and I think that's what we're going to see this week.
So you look at the big boys on the board. Scotty coming in just a hair longer than 4-1. Rory at 5-1. Bryson at 9-1. And then you start to approach that 20-1 range or so as you see the odds on your board there. Of the 3 favorites, the only 3 guys shorter than 10-1. Wes, you've got an outright on one?
I do, and I do think that Scotty is the rightful favorite here, even though, by the way, Rory has won 4 times here at Quail Hollow for the Wells Fargo. But keep in mind, he just had his career accomplishment with the career Grand Slam, and he's been doing all the media, and he still kept a busy schedule playing. So I wonder if this is a little bit of a come down from what we saw, even though he has an opportunity to go 2 for 2 in majors in 2025. But I did play Bryson, who, of course, he was in the final pairing with Rory last month at the Masters, and looked like when Rory got off to a bad start that he was going to be the one to bring it home, and then just never got it going, and Rory was much the best. So Bryson, I think, out for a little bit of redemption here. He actually won his last time out a couple weeks ago. Now, it was over in South Korea for the LIV event not exactly ideal prep necessarily for this week, but it's victory, and a victory matters everywhere you go. He leads the world in golf and driving distance. He's also 7th on LIV in driving accuracy, so he's got a complete game off the tee. And I do think that this course, with some of the rain, at least the fairways, Joe, you're not going to get a lot of roll here. You're going to get a little bit soft conditions, even though the greens, because they have that sub-air system beneath the greens, they're going to be firm and fast, I think, pretty much all week. But I think that rain might soften this place up. So you want a guy with long carry distance, and who is longer than Bryson DeChambeau? That's nobody.
Yeah, and Wes, I was going to ask you how much the driving game matters at a course like this. I've heard Quail Hollow be described. I think one of the golfers actually participating this weekend said the course was like a Kardashian. It was got the job done, but didn't have a whole lot of character or depth to it. I'm paraphrasing on the quote, but Quail Hollow being a course that doesn't have a whole lot of intricacies, if you will, does that mean that the long game plays more effective, more impactful there?
Yeah, I think so. And that was Hunter Mahan, by the way, former several-time PGA Tour winner that did say that. And he's not totally wrong, because there's not a lot to it in terms of like holes 1 through 15, but then you get 16 to 18, and you get what's called the Green Mile, maybe honoring Michael Clark Duncan, apparently, calling it the Green Mile, and Tom Hanks. But that's basically what it is. You got a couple long par 4 sandwiched around number 17, which is a long par 3. Got to go over a large pond to a green that's protected by bunkers on either side. So you've had 1,800 balls find the water in the drink over the last 20 years, because remember, Quail Hollow is regularly played every year on the PGA Tour. It usually hosts what used to be the Wells Fargo Championship, now the Truist Championship, which was in Philadelphia last week. So the last 3 holes can get pretty dangerous for these guys, but there's not a lot to trick them the first 15.
Who do you like aside of DeChambeau here on the outright market, Wes? Looking down at maybe some longer shots. I see the Swede as one of your plays here. We're going back to the well on him. Who else do you like?
Yeah, we are. I played a little Xander Schauffele at 22-1 too. He's trying to go back-to-back at the PGA. Won at Valhalla last year. I think he's finally kind of getting back into form. Remember, he got off to a slow start because he had that 2 months out with the rib injury. So he's also finished runner-up on this course each of the last 2 years. Was runner-up to Rory last year, was runner-up to Wyndham Clark 2 years before at the Wells Fargo. So he's got some scar tissue here, and maybe he goes one better this time. I did play the Swede, Ludwig Aubert, who doesn't jump off at the page at you with the numbers here necessarily this week, because he's kind of played a couple shaky tournaments since that Masters, but everybody was betting him at the Masters, and he was third with 2 holes left to play. He would have finished one out of the playoff, and then triple bogey dropped him to 7th. He's plenty long enough here. Another guy I took a shot with, Joaquin Niemann, who has never been great in majors. He's never even had a top 10 in 23 majors. He's been on LIV. He's won 4 times in the last 5 months around the world, and he's one of the longer hitters off the tee in the entire game. I think this is where we finally see him show in a major. And then 3 kind of longer shots. They're big names though, and they're well in terms of long-term form. Patrick Cantlay 45-1, Victor Hovland you can get around 50-1, and then I did play Patrick Reed at 90-1. Remember, he went pretty close at the Masters, ended up third, and he's got good background here. Actually was the runner-up here in the PGA in 2017 when Justin Thomas won his first major.
I love it. Wes, before we shift gears over to this Game 6 in Denver, Nuggets Thunder, one more play I'm looking at personally. We mentioned Scotty, plus 425 here. Obviously the short shot, not a great price for an outright, but minus 10 cents for a top 5 finish. You mentioned that he's got that price deservedly so there at just a dash longer than 4-1. Would you be more comfortable with maybe, even though you're laying 10 cents, going the top 5 route? What are your thoughts on that play?
Yeah, look, I can't necessarily argue with it because he's the number 1 player in the world. Now, he's never played here at Quail Hollow. Ooh. I don't think that that's going to matter all that much necessarily, but it's usually not one of the regular events that he plays. But he finally did win a couple weeks ago at Byron Nelson when it was like he's either, he's probably going to win here and I'm not going to bet him at 3-1. And then he sure enough did on an easy course. So he at least has that monkey off his back. He's got a little scar tissue too at the PGA. Remember the last PGA, he ended up in the Hooskow for a couple hours due to that traffic stop incident. So he wore his orange for his practice round this week.
Absolutely love it. Wes, let's talk about a team in blue and orange. Not my Knicks, the Oklahoma City Thunder. Game 6, going to Denver, trying to close things out. Are you on them to end this here?
I think that they are going to close it out, Joe, and I would look maybe a little bit of cheap money line. There is some 180 out there, or you could lay the 4.5. The road team, by the way, in game number 6, when they're up 3-2 on about a 66% run, I think 63-33 run over a long sample size here. And then the road team as a road favorite in a 3-2 series is 27-8 run. And I just look at Denver. I think this line's going to stay about where it is because I think Denver's going to get enough respect as the defending champions. And with still what I think is the best player in the world, Nikola Jokic, even though I think SGA is the deserved MVP, I wonder how much left in the tank Jokic and Murray are going to have. They didn't come out for the entire second half and each played well over 40 minutes in that game. And, Charles Barkley and a couple of the other commentators I thought were correct when they made the, hey, Joker looks like he's wearing down. And I wonder how much he's going to have left for this because I think they put everything into that game number 5 at Oklahoma City. They'll fight early, but I wonder how much they're going to have at the end. And then I think SGA and company and these young kids on the Thunder that have been on the come up the last couple of years, their ship finally comes in, and I think they go to the Western Conference Finals to face Minnesota.
And speaking of SGA, you've got a little prop action on him. What is it?
Yeah, 6.5 assists over. You're going to have to lay heavy vig. It did clear 6.5, by the way, in game number 5. It ended up at 7. You didn't get the bump if you played over 7.5 like I did, but same principle here. I think that he's going to go over once again. Now, he'll take plenty of shots, but he does because they try to collapse on him and stop his drive. So you're going to get Jalen Williams, and you're going to get Lou Dort out there for open threes, especially Dort last game. He was the big three-point shooter. I think it could be Williams tomorrow, but he's going to find open shooters for sure on those drives.
Yeah, Dort 4 for 6 from beyond the arc in that Game 5 win. 2 daggers in the fourth quarter. Wes, as always, man, sensational stuff. Really appreciate the time. Thanks so much for hopping on.
You bet, Joe. Thanks for having me.
And folks, if you haven't already, make sure you check out Long Shots. You still have a little bit of time before the PGA Championship tees off. Matt Brown, who was on before me with Mike Somich doing the NFL schedule release show, Kelly Bidlin, and our guy, Wes Reynolds, breaking down golf in the best way possible. Nothing but winners. Make sure you check out the Long Shots pod. Make sure you also follow him on Twitter at Wes Reynolds 1. Coming up, we're going to talk about the schedule release. Our friend Joe DeLeon, host of the Ruffino and Joe Show. You catch him also over at A to Z Sports. He's going to join us. We're going to break down some primetime spots that Jaden Daniels is going to be gracing your television screens on. You don't want to miss it. Cashing Out with Joe Ceraulo.
Welcome back to Cashing Out here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Cashing Out continues with me, Joe Ceraulo, taking you through the late hours of your Wednesday night, right on in to your Thursday morning for our friends over on the East Coast. And speaking of our friends on the East Coast, let's hit the progressive guest line here. Welcome in our friend. You can catch his work on A to Z Sports. Tune into the Ruffino and Joe Show on YouTube. It's Joe DeLeon joining us on the progressive guest line. Joe, the long-awaited, highly anticipated NFL schedule release is finally here. Just another excuse for the league that is king in this cycle of sports news to just grab attention and headlines in a month that otherwise would have nothing to do with football. What was your biggest takeaway from the schedule release?
Yeah, I don't understand still the whole point of this. I know I sound like an old man complaining, but the schedules get leaked the whole day. And then it's like, whoa, look at the schedules, everybody. Like, you think that if they were going to be so focused on doing this whole bonanza, they'd make sure the dang schedules didn't get leaked. But, I mean, that's my only complaint. I care about some of these matchups. I'm intrigued by some of these matchups. It'll be very interesting to see how some of these big primetime games end up playing out.
Yeah, let's talk about primetime games because Jaden Daniels, and I think deservedly so, has a ton of primetime or at least standalone spots on the schedule for the Washington Commanders. And I mean, look, I'm obsessed and addicted to watching Jaden Daniels. I could watch him nonstop. So I love the fact that he's in so many standalone spots, except the game in Spain, because that's, 6 a.m. on the West Coast, so probably won't be watching that one. But all the other primetime games, I mean, what are your thoughts on how many spots Washington has? What kind of season do you expect out of the Commanders? Not an easy schedule. That win total, 9.5. I mean, do we take the over? Are they begging us to take the over? Do you think we look under? What are your thoughts?
Well, first of all, I'm taking the over on that 9.5. I mean, they've got some tough matchups. We already talked about last week how the NFC East is a really tough draw for the other divisions that it's going to be playing. But this Commanders team was as good as they were last year with old bodies on both sides of the football, not nearly the quality of offensive line that they have going into this season after they took Connerly and they also traded for Laramie Tunsil. I just really, really think that this Commanders team is going to take a leap after they had an amazing season last year. Some could argue some of those games, late season luck, the ball bouncing their way. This is a year, the way that they put against the Lions, I think, is where they're going to continue to show up in these primetime matchups. And I think that the NFL is very smart for this. The NFL needs to lean into its young stars. It's also in a market where there is a very rabid and focused fan base. And I think that also just naturally a lot of Southern sports fans seem to really love Jaden Daniels. And there's not really a lot of NFL teams in a lot of those Southern states. A lot of them pay attention to what the Commanders do. So I really, really think putting as much of a spotlight on Jaden Daniels is a very, very bright and strategic move by them.
Yeah, and even if you're, say an LSU fan who is also a New Orleans Saints fan, you might be more invested in what Jaden Daniels is doing right now than the dumpster fire that is the New Orleans Saints at the moment. Joe, I want to talk about another young quarterback, an even younger one, the first overall pick this year, Cam Ward, the Tennessee Titans. You pointed this out during the commercial break as we were talking. No primetime spots for the number one overall pick. How much does that surprise you?
I'm really shocked by this. I would have thought that there would have been maybe some sort of a push for like one really bad Monday Night Football or Thursday Night Football game where, say, Cam Ward faced off with Travis Hunter. Like, why couldn't we have gotten a game like that? I really stand by this. I really think that this is going to be a mistake by the NFL because I think that the Titans are going to be a lot better than people realize. I think that there is a world where Cam Ward can ignite this team the way that Jaden Daniels ignited the Washington Commanders. And that 5.5 number for their win total, I'm taking the over. I think that there are going to be plenty of games this season where they're going to be able to close out late because Cam Ward is Cam Ward and he's the king of late game heroics. Last year, I said to you, Joe, on your show before it was cashing out, that my pick to win Offensive Rookie of the Year was Jaden Daniels. I think that my pick this year is just going to be Cam Ward. I'm going to keep it simple. I think that Cam Ward is going to have so many amazing highlight plays, and the NFL was too stupid to bury him and not give him the opportunity to shine in a primetime matchup.
Yeah, I didn't think about the Cam Ward versus Travis Hunter prospect of a Titans-Jags Thursday game. I'm looking at the schedule. I'm thinking we couldn't have gotten Titans-Texans on a Thursday night. I mean, Cam Ward, CJ Stroud, that's what I'm looking at. Like, come on. We've had so many god-awful Thursday night games. You could have at least given us the number one pick going up against, 2 years ago, the Rookie of the Year, Ward versus Stroud. I think a lot of people would have signed up to watch that contest. How about another terrific quarterback, one who's proven, now he's got a little additional hardware under his belt, Josh Allen, going up against another quarterback with some hardware, Lamar Jackson. I mean, look, I agree with you. I think the schedule release thing is overblown, is a little absurd, right? But I got giddy when I saw week 1 Sunday night Bills-Ravens. I am really amped up for that one, man.
Right. This is the positive part of the schedule release. Getting to see matchups like this and where they slot, and most importantly, the time slot that they're landing in, not just the week. The first week of games in the NFL, I don't think we couldn't have been given a better slate. I mean, this is a home run for what we're going to get to see. The Cowboys-Eagles matchup, I'm not super excited about. Like, I think that we could have done a lot better.
I wanted Commanders-Eagles.
A lot of people but right, like I feel like they're just trying to play into the fact that it's the Cowboys. They're going to get a lot of attention, and I can't wait to see the Cowboys lose by like 3 touchdowns, and we're going to be saying, why would they schedule this game? But to get back to what we were talking about with the Ravens and the Bills, they make up for it with this matchup. We don't have to worry about like something happening over the course of the season and a big injury happening for one of these teams, and they play in like week 11. It's not the same level of intensity or whatnot, something getting in the way of impacting the high level of play in this matchup. We get it in week 1. We get it on Sunday Night Football. We get to round out an awesome week and an awesome Sunday with 2 of the best players that were fighting for an MVP this year. When I was putting together a list for a different video that I taped before this was the one that I immediately wrote down. Like, they could not have picked a more perfect Sunday Night Football game. The thing that does stink, though, because you look at the other Sunday Night Football games, when you put it in perspective, the rest of them are kind of bad. Like, there's really not a very good Sunday night stretch this year. It feels like after week 1, it kind of tails off with a bunch of underwhelming matchups that we were given.
Well, hopefully the league isn't too gun shy with that flex option as we get into the later weeks. And, that hopefully that stuff's all tentative. Sometimes we've been left scratching our heads like, really? They're not going to flex this one out? Hopefully this year they're a little more liberal with the ability to flex some of these games. But, I mean, I look at that Bills schedule. I think over 11.5 wins should get home. I just don't know if I can lay 60 cents with it. I hate the price. I love the over.
Yeah.
What stands out to me more than anything, and we knew this prior to the schedule release when we knew the opponents, Buffalo's toughest opponents all seem to be in Orchard Park. They have a very light road schedule.
Yeah, and I'm sure that there might have been a little bit of wink, wink, nudge, nudge, help out the Buffalo Bills here. But obviously, I kid. I'm not being serious. But the fact that a lot of their road games come against a bunch of mediocre teams, frankly, you get the Patriots there in the mix, them having to go to the Browns, that game is going to be a blowout and underwhelming performance. You get the Panthers, who might be good this year, but the Bills are far better than that young team that's going to be showing some signs of improvement. And their first road game is against the Jets. The Jets are another team that's figuring out what the heck they are. They got not only an amazing draw of opponents on their road schedule of just getting to square off with these teams with first-year head coaches, first-year quarterbacks, trying to get their footing straight, but the overall schedule that they have is nuts. I don't want to get caught saying this, but I think it's realistic that they could win like 14 plus games. Like, I don't think that there's any hyperbole in saying that they can maybe even win 15 or more games, because there are not very many hard matchups after that Ravens game.
No, I mean, the Bengals, the Chiefs, those games being played in Orchard Park is huge. I think the Pats,
the
week
Bengals
15,
defense could stink again this year.
We'll see. Pats could be frisky week 15 in Foxborough. But, yeah, I think the Bills are absolutely live to be the 1 seed. He's Joe DeLeon, our friend from A to Z Sports. Catch the Ruffino and Joe Show. Make sure you follow him on Twitter at Joe DeLeon. And folks, make sure that you start betting smarter, because smarter bets start right here and they last all year long with a VSiN Pro subscription. For a limited time, we're slashing the price of our annual subscription. Normally $240, now just $1.99. And when you sign up today, you're getting 2 extra months for free. That's 14 months VSiN Pro access for less than 50 cents a day with the promo code PRO. Those 14 months include daily best bets from our hosts and guests, exclusive splits from DraftKings and Circa, 24/7 live video on the VSiN Watch app, and more. So head to VSiN.com/subscribe now, promo code PRO, and lock in your 14 months for just $1.99.
Out here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Cashing Out continues with myself, Joe Ceraulo, taking you into your Thursday morning here. Coming off a wild Wednesday in sports, the Oilers, an OT winner, as they solidify their spot in the Western Conference Final. They will await Thursday's Dallas-Winnipeg game to see if the Stars clinch as well in 5 games like Edmonton did. If not, maybe Winnipeg, Connor Hellebuyck can exercise those demons and extend the series. The Washington Capitals Thursday also looking to extend their series, force a Game 6 in Carolina. They're plus $1.50 on the money line on their home ice. It's a bet that intrigues me. It's a bet that I could see myself potentially getting to the counter on, but it's not what I would call a best bet. I've got 3 of those for Thursday. Let's dive in. It's time for the VSiN Daily Morning Bets. We are starting on the diamond. We've got 2 bets in 1 game. You've all seen that video, right? 2 bets, 1 game. Let's do it. The Houston Astros and the Texas Rangers under 7.5 runs. I normally hate unders when the total is set at 7.5, but I love this pitching matchup. And as a baseball purist, I'd be so content watching this game go to the 9th at 0-0. Although God knows with the new ghost runners and extra innings, your over would still be live if this went to extras. Nothing. But Hunter Brown and Jacob deGrom, sign me up. 2 Cy Youngs under deGrom's belt. Hunter Brown as live as anyone in the American League in 2025 to win the Cy Young Award. And this is not me jumping on Brown now. I've been saying this since spring training. Hunter Brown, since Memorial Day 2024, has been as good as any starting pitcher in Major League Baseball. Tarek Skubal, Paul Skeens, Hunter Brown. Same tier since Memorial Day 2024. Remember, he got off to that god-awful start last year. ERA was 7.5. From Memorial Day on, it was like 2 flat. Now it's sub 2. Give me the under 7.5 with these 2 aces. Hunter Brown has reached ace status on the bump. So here's how the numbers play out. Opponents have scored 3 or less in 7 of Brown's 8 starts, including shutouts, goose eggs, 0 in 3 of his last 5. That's not just 0 runs allowed by Brown. That's 0 runs allowed by Houston in 3 of his last 5 starts. Now, current Ranger hitters, 30 for 90 against them. It's a really good 333 clip. That is heavily juiced by Marcus Semien, hitting 632 against Brown. 632. He's 12 for 19 against them. You think I'm worried about Marcus Semien in this contest? He's hitting under $180 this season. I mean, Marcus Semien may own Hunter Brown, but Marcus Semien couldn't hit the broadside of a barn this year, so I ain't too worried about him. He's been dreadful. The Rangers lineup has been subpar this year, so I'm not too worried about Texas from an offensive standpoint against Brown. Now, you got deGrom on the bump for the Rangers, and he's settled in beautifully. Look at his last 5 starts. Opponents have scored 4 or fewer in each of his last 5, and he is 3-1 with a 1.91 ERA across those 5 starts. I mean, you look at the trends, right? When Brown pitches, opponents score 3 or less. When deGrom pitches, they score 4 or less. 4-3 gets you an under, folks. I love the under 7.5 here, even having to lay 20 cents for it. Now, there's also a prop I love in this game. Give me Hunter Brown over 6.5 strikeouts at minus 10 cents. We got this a couple starts ago, plus $1.30. Price has moved, and you might say, well, Joe, the Rangers hardly strike out. Under 8 Ks per game, 7th best mark in baseball. Well, I would tell you the Royals hardly strike out, 2nd fewest per game in baseball. The Blue Jays hardly strike out, 3rd fewest per game in baseball. Hunter Brown struck the Royals out and the Blue Jays out 9 times. Hunter Brown has struck out 9 opponents in 4 straight starts. Give me the over 6.5 strikeouts for Hunter Brown against the Texas Rangers in this game. Final play, final prop, NBA. Give me Nikola Jokic, the Joker, over 28.5 points. Fighting off elimination on his home court. Game 6. Now look, I had said after game 4, I think the home team wins out and we get OKC in 7. I don't know, following back-to-back fourth quarter collapses, if the Nuggets have it in them to send this one to 7. I'm staying away from Denver money line. I do lean towards the Nuggets +5. If you make me pick a side in this one, I'm probably taking the points. But for my best bet in this game, what I'm actually going to go to the counter and play, Nikola Jokic over 28.5 points, -10 cents. Now, he's only gone over this twice this series. Each time he went over, though, he went over with a 40-piece. 42 game 1, 44 game 5. Coincidentally, ironically, both of those games were in Oklahoma City. But Joker averaged 3 more points per game at home this season than he did on the road. He averaged 31 per game at home. I think it's curious that his points prop here in an elimination game on his home court is 2.5 points beneath what he has averaged at Ball Arena all season. And I know Oklahoma City is a terrific defensive team, but their defensive prowess mainly comes in the backcourt. So I could see Jamal Murray unders. I could see Christian Braun unders. But they don't have a matchup for Nikola Jokic. Isaiah Hartenstein, you've heard me say this before, doesn't play enough minutes. Chet Holmgren doesn't weigh enough, plain and simple. I think Nikola Jokic over 28.5 points is the play. Game 6, Thunder Nuggets, Thursday night. That'll do it for the VSiN Daily Morning Bets, folks. Don't forget, best bets here are brought to you by our friends over at GBank. Get the GBank Visa Signature Card today. Most credit cards treat sportsbook and gaming transactions like cash advances, even when you put your own money on the card. Our friends at GBank treat gaming transactions like purchases. So you're saving up to 3 to 5% on cash advance fees on gaming transactions right there. Also, with GBank, you're earning 1% cashback rewards on all eligible sportsbook and gaming transactions and 2% cashback rewards on all eligible purchases. Apply now. VSiN.com/GBank. That's VSIN.com/GBank. You know, before we wrap up the program, I do want to touch a little bit more on the NFL schedule release because there's one team that I have dubbed America's team that is certainly Circa's team that I think has a really challenging schedule. How about the Detroit Lions schedule this season that has just come out? The Detroit Lions, for a 15-win team from a year ago, a sensational season, the 1 seed, both coordinators becoming head coaches, the Lions got rewarded with a pretty damn difficult schedule. I mean, you look at some of the road stretches they have. Look at that. The Detroit Lions open up the year. 2 out of their first 3 are at Green Bay, at Baltimore. The one in between, welcome back Ben Johnson. Then they have back-to-back road stretches at Cincinnati, at Kansas City. A few weeks later, back-to-back at Washington and at Philadelphia. The schedule makers did the Detroit Lions no favors. It's why a 15-win team from a year ago is coming in with a win total of just 10.5 this season. But the players are still the same. They might not have Ben Johnson. They might not have Aaron Glenn, but they're going to get back Aiden Hutchinson. They've still got Amon-Ra St. Brown. They still have Sam Laporta and a tremendous offensive line. To me, if the Lions split those back-to-back road games at Cincy, at KC, and then at Washington and at Philly, if they can split each of those, they will go over 10.5 wins. And most importantly, what we're going to learn this season is how much of Detroit's success was a credit to their coordinators or how good of a head coach Dan Campbell really is. And that'll do it for another sensational edition of Cashing Out with Joe Ceraulo. Special thanks to our incredible guests, Joe DeLeon, Tanner Kern, Wes Reynolds. Special thanks to our phenomenal producer, Jared Moore, for the great job he did on this program, and the rest of our incredible team on the other side of the glass here at the VSiN Studios. Chris, Alexis, Johnny, couldn't have done it without them. Good news, though, folks. The great content here at VSiN never stops. How about VSiN by the books? 7 a.m. Eastern, Rachel Dory, NHL analyst, is going to join the show, give her best bets for Thursday's games alongside our terrific hosts, Dave Ross and Jensen Lewis. Then a numbers game with our friends Gil Alexander and Kelly Bidlin at 10 a.m. Eastern, taking you through the PGA Championship, and money moves with Stormy Bonantoni and JVT at noon Eastern. That does it for Cashing Out. I'm Joe Ceraulo. Let's do it again, Damani.